Here we go. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Crepuscular Bronies Discussed. Today we are going to talk about yesterday's episode, just for Sidekicks. And today I'm joined by, for the first time, 3 guests. We have got Biter.
Blarg.
Digibrony.
Hello.
And for the first time, Skan120. So, welcome to the show, everybody. And, yeah, who wants to go first?
Not it.
Not really me. I feel apathy.
And why you go first? It's your show.
Okay, fair enough. After all, I haven't even started writing my own review since I either have finished the one from last week, but hey, next week everything will be better. Yeah, I just saw it once again, and I don't really like it. It's I don't know. The elements about this episode I could enjoy were single images, single jokes, mainly surrounded, mostly around the pets. And I don't know, Spike was like Spike at your service all over again, but worse in a different way.
Yeah, it has got quite a few parallels to Spike at your service, in at least the reasons where you dislike it.
And he was kind of thrown back to Secret of My Access when he turned all greedy, and everybody's now like, okay, take our rubies, why not? And I totally got confused that the rubies are, on the one hand, apparently some kind of universal currency, and on the other hand, they're just food.
Well, they've sort of always been that, and they've always been around, but yeah, they take quite a important role in the show here. Doing thingy. Yeah, my views on the thing was...
I'm not the unprofessional one this time.
Is anyone else's volume getting kind of weird?
No.
No, mine's been fine.
Okay.
Oh, you
But anyway,
volume?
I was gonna say the Ponyville economy. Volume? What? You okay?
Ooh. What?
I'm going to assume it's okay, so I'm going to talk. Yeah, I was going to say the Ponyville economy is confusing and must be in shambles because of jewels, because we know that bits exist. We saw them in Putting Your Hoof Down. So there's clearly a form of money, and yet there's jewels which Rarity can just magically dig out of everywhere and has a million of. So, like, if they're really worth something, then Rarity is a multi-billionaire, and we don't know that for no reason.
The funny thing is, you can buy an industrial-sized pet dryer.
Yeah, with just one little tiny jewel.
The smallest one.
And where did they get all their supplies to cover the creatures in paint?
If the whole ruby was spent on the industrial dryer, yeah.
Well, I don't know where. I thought they were going on that scene going to say, you know, we spent it on all the painted bits and bobs to keep them entertained, and instead, out of nowhere, an industrial hair dryer, which is just ridiculously silly, and we've not really seen before in the show.
The interesting part is
I'm not going to fault the show on introducing ridiculously silly stuff we haven't seen before, because that happens on an almost episode-by-episode basis.
Except the thing is, at least as before, particularly in season 1, that Faust had an idea for the show that it didn't have the futuristic stuff. That what it did introduce was set within that kind of fantasy universe.
Well, it did have. Season 1 had
giant...
in Feeling Pinky Keen, they had the giant machines that Twilight used that she hooked Pinky up to, like the stat machines and stuff. So those were kind of similar.
Yeah, but
we've
at
lost
least that was to serve a direct. Yeah, I know.
Told me a technical difficulty.
He should be joining soon. But yeah, at least on that one, it actually served a purpose in the plot, and it was there for a reason. This one though, you could change it with something else that would work in universe, and it would make sense. That you don't lose anything by having the hairdryer, other than having the scene where Winona's being blown against the ground, which is done there just for simple, lol, look, industrial hairdryer.
But to be fair, I enjoyed the gag and Winona's view. But I still got confused. If it was just a joke, I would have been fine, but at the same moment I was like, jewels are worth this much?
But I think they kind of wanted to evoke that that reaction where they wanted you to go, oh, that's what that's worth.
Oh, the writing's crap. Good. Yeah, we're sucking along with you. That's brilliant. Yeah, what I'm having difficulties actually analyzing the episode itself. It's not as clear as a Dave Polsky episode that it's going straight for slapstick, but I think it probably is. The problem I have is, at least with Dave Polsky, it's obvious he's trying to be funny. With this one, it's also sort of trying to tell a bit of a story going on. And the story's not very good, and the humor isn't there. So
as far as the metric goes, for me personally, I laughed more during this episode than probably any other this season. For me, it was the funniest episode of the season. So as far as comedy goes, I think it's there. So,
well, that's of season 3, isn't it?
Well, I love season 3. So unlike you, I'm a very big fan of season 3.
Yeah. That's the thing that I found the humor didn't work for me, and I think it's a link, and probably the humor of season 3 is because it's much more direct, slapsticky. That the show is trying to play stories and actions on screen directly to be funny. That the writer themselves has written it. Very much like the industrial strength hairdryer.
Yeah.
Before we didn't have that. When we had the the machinery with Twilight, the one time it broke it in season 1, that was to serve the scene where Twilight is testing Pinkie Pie.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. That scene wasn't played for laughs. It was played because that was what was needed in the story.
I hate to break you up. Just one chance because Skan has still technical difficulties. Try to say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, there. The lag's gone. I think there was too many
back
windows.
to a puppy.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to mess with that again.
Interesting enough, I would have guessed that the puppy messes up more things because it's animated than a simple screen share, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't because it's actually part of this program.
Yeah, probably. So, welcome back, Skan120 with Skan120, the puppy. Okay, so that's a good time. You're back. Now you can,
What were your thoughts on the episode?
Join in and share your thoughts.
I saw the episode as I thought it was really fun. Had a bunch of but it wasn't. It didn't really contribute to the series, but it was funny enough to make up for that. It also just had a few plot plugs in there to fill some stuff up.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning with the picture frames showing us Pee-wee, who disappeared after his only appearance.
Which is really sad. They clearly couldn't think of anything to do with him, and they were just like, whatever, write him back out.
They wrote him out. What a waste.
And then we also got to see, a little more Tank and Rainbow Dash interaction.
Yeah, that part was excellent. I love that. Everything about Tank and Rainbow Dash in this episode was probably my favorite part.
Too bad it was about 2 seconds each.
Well, it's what happens and what it says about them, because the way I read Rainbow Dash is that she's always trying to grapple with her inauthenticity, where she wants to be, because she's so, she loves being the badass pony who's like, yeah, I'm the coolest, but at the same time, she has to kind of embrace her lame and girly side, and it's something that she's had trouble with, obviously, through Read It and Weep, where she started reading, but now she's reached the point where she can read in public confidently. She's not as much. She's not trying to be as inauthentic anymore.
Yeah,
so when it comes to Tank, when it comes to Tank, it really is showing her trying to strike this balance where, on the one hand, she's still trying to look somewhat cool, and Tank is so uncool. But on the other hand, it's like she's like, whatever. I love him. So
that brief moment where she says goodbye to Tank.
Yeah. We all saw the episode. The thing is, though, that's what I've liked about previous seasons. Rather than just having 2 parts of 2 seconds, why couldn't we have a whole episode on that? The majority of the episode isn't stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's nice to have, still. I think it's great for just
it's nice to have. But the problem is that the majority of our time is still spent watching the majority of the episode.
Yeah. But
So-
I still like the majority of the episode. You're extremely negative about it in general, but I love it.
I saw it as a
because I have no
classic
complaints about this
cartoon.
episode at
The
all.
difference here is obviously whether we found it funny or not. Correct? We haven't
there's a
yet
lot to
discussed.
Yeah.
Well, you said you found it funny, and I said I'm not even sure if it was trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
Well,
'cause
the other part is it also seemed to be an episode that was really trying to push the cute too. Because you had RD in that, also the Cutie Mark Crusaders. I don't know how many people were like me, but the whole time that Sweetie Belle was saying, "Oh, Angel cute" and everything, it's like, is anything more cute? And you're thinking, Sweetie Belle, you're being more cute than it is right now.
See, I agree with him because I get complete squee when I see the ponies being adorable. I'm just, you know. I didn't come to this show in spite of the cute. I came to this show embracing the cute, you know. So that to me is still an important part of it.
Well, there's it's not a question of in spite. It's a question of what it serves and what part it plays in people's enjoyment of the show. Yes, people can enjoy it for its cuteness. However, if it plays the episode, if it plays it, what am I sounding like a robot?
No, but you are a robot. So you can't
Yeah.
enjoy cuteness.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, though, it is quite capricious, though, or at least wasteful, if all it does is rely on cuteness. If the cuteness sometimes serves a purpose, like Sweetie Belle convincing Rarity, I quite like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't like it when they ostentatiously do stuff to be cute. Since what they should do, if they are focusing on a character episode, for example, is work on characters.
The cuteness is important to the plot of this episode, though, because the fact that the Cutie Mark Crusaders are they're sort of an adorable force of nature against Spike, where Spike really he goes into this thinking that he's going to manipulate them because he thinks that they're these little kids. They're just these, they're portrayed as just these adorable little kids, and he's like, all right, I'm going to get these kids to take my trash for me or whatever.
And then the little kids act like they're little kids, don't they?
Yeah,
So,
but they completely they totally turn on him, and that's what's so great about it, is that he expects that he's going to manipulate them throughout the episode, but they continually.
I know my sister paid you. Give me money.
Apple Bloom.
Chat and just somebody. That dog is staring into my soul.
Yes.
I can see.
I don't really buy that. The episode particularly tries to use their cuteness or as a theme through the episode.
I think it just adds to who they are.
You said it was an important part. So
yeah, like
it's an important in part, or who they are.
That's the same. Like, it's important in that it contributes to them being these cute little kids.
You said in your original claim.
Well, forget my
important to these. Then why did you claim that? Don't claim that is wrong.
No, I do think it's important. It's important because of what it brings out in them.
Yeah. So wait, you claim something. Is that true or false now? Since you've changed your mind.
Well, I don't understand why you're thinking it's false.
Is it integral to the plot, their cuteness?
Yeah, the fact that they are cute is integral to the idea.
Now? It does matter now, because that's what you started with. If you started with it, then don't drop it, elaborate on it, and let me debunk it.
My point is simply that the ponies are adorable children, and that's what makes you feel that Spike's trying to manipulate them.
Is that
their cuteness contributes to that. Because that's the
plot.
plot.
Is that directly
Spike's trying to manipulate them. That is the plot. That is literally the plot.
But I would argue that they are portrayed as little kids, and then they act as little kids. They haven't duped him.
They haven't duped him, but they've shown that he didn't know what he was doing, that he wasn't able to manipulate them where he thought he could, which shows that he's just not as strong as he thought he was. He thought he was going to be this guy who could easily overpower the kids.
It's a play of strength, however, because it's a matter of he leaves the pets with the kids, hoping that they will take the problem off his shoulders.
Yeah.
However, for some reason, he is now walking along with all the baked batter and jewels. For some reason, even though he could just return to the treehouse where all those materials are, and he goes, and then he hears that they're actually doing something to Tank. So it is obvious that
Yeah.
he gives
Where's
it
the
to
turtle's head?
Yeah, he gives it to the little kids, and then he finds out later that they've been acting like little kids.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of his personal... he tried to offlay his responsibility.
Yeah.
That
And
is
he
what
failed.
He did. Yeah, he offlaid his responsibility to those who weren't responsible. In
Yeah.
that case, it was a lack of judgment on his part. However, the point isn't that it's about their cuteness. The reason he did that was because he was offlaying responsibility. And
Yeah.
it was a bad decision. Why did he make a bad decision? Because he's an idiot in this episode.
I don't know that he's an idiot, but he's not. Oh, he is an idiot.
Lacking
But,
of judgment, yeah.
yeah, lacking in judgment certainly, but
And of common decency, correct.
I also think there'll be a little bit of annoyance in the fandom from this episode, just like they had with Sweet and Elite, where it kind of seems like he didn't quite learn his comeuppance at the end of the episode.
I thought he got his comeuppance. I love that at the very end, they still make him not get the cake. Did something just happen to the audio for somebody?
No,
I can hear
No?
you.
you're fine.
So I heard an echo or something.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, the fact that he accidentally eats his jewel still at the end still doesn't get to make his jewel cake. I just thought that was great, because even though the animals forgave him, the viewer does not necessarily forgive him yet, and then at the end he still doesn't get his way. So I thought that was a nice touch at the end.
The difficulty we had with Spike at Your Service was that we added in a contrivance for the action of slapstick, and said contrivance degraded Spike's character in a way that is contrary to prior established knowledge.
Yeah.
In this episode, Spike is portrayed as of lacking judgment and often as quite capricious to the other ponies.
Mm.
I would argue that in previous seasons, Spike has always been quite a reliable figure, that he has been the #1 assistant, that he has been one that you can entrust a certain amount of responsibility to, and who is fairly good at interpersonal interaction.
No, that's not very consistent when it comes to Spike. Like, he had, remember, what's that episode called? The one where Twilight travels to the future. It's About Time, where
it's about...
he kind of acts that way, where he just lacks foresight and lacks,
Because he likes ice cream.
Yeah, he lacks the ability to think ahead and stuff.
Spike's a flip-flop.
More harmless in this case, because now he's just an asshole, sorry.
Yeah,
But
he is an
he
asshole
is.
in this episode.
he is actually planning to go to all the other ponies and screw them over, to take their gems and not care about the pet from the very beginning. This was his plan all the time. And
then he is incapable of even looking after the pets when it
Right.
comes around to looking after them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's
With the
guided
ice cream.
completely by his greed in this episode, but
the funny thing about this episode is, I actually agree that it was funny, and Biter knows that I am the type of viewer who says, "Oh, it's funny, I like it." But in this case, even so, the funny moments I really liked, and also the Rainbow Dash, tank moments, and everything. Spike was so annoying.
Yeah.
I hated Spike. He was the protagonist, and our list is usually smarter than him, and suddenly our list has got made a simple pet.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That in this case, I wasn't sure. The framework normally of most stories, as I've said in my review, is that of you have a protagonist, someone that you empathize with, or at least you are interested in their story.
yeah.
The thing is with Spike is he's utterly deplorable in his actions.
Yeah.
And not in a good way, not in an
But I enjoyed
entertaining
that.
way.
And I enjoyed it a lot. Mind you, I'm not a big fan of Spike or Spike episodes. I usually just find them boring and don't care. Like Dragon Quest or Secret of My Excess, I've never really rewatched those episodes because I just never really cared about Spike. But in this episode, the fact that he's an asshole gave him just more character to me, where instead of just being that other pony, it was who's not a pony, who's a dragon. But instead of that, it's like, oh, here we get to watch an asshole character on the show for once, and just how everything, just watch how much everything can just go wrong for him by the end, and he can just totally get his comeuppance through this. And
Actually, if you remember back, he was pretty assholic in Winter Wrap-Up.
Yeah, he was kind of mean to Twilight in that episode. There have
Wasn't he,
been episodes where he's
lazy?
rude. Yeah,
And
there's been a lot of episodes where he's rude and lazy, but none where he's quite
I'm
as
not
much
sure
an asshole
about
as he is in this
obstinate.
episode.
He's not rude on purpose. He often just speaks his mind. It may be what you're thinking about when, in terms of rudeness. That if he says something, he immediately says it without thinking.
Yeah.
That is more just a character flaw rather than a complete lack of judgment by being an asshole. And that's the thing that, for me, I'm not sure, and for ANY Pony, the change to make him an arsehole is a contrivance that we don't actually enjoy. I'm not sure.
Well,
I don't
you
find.
don't
I
actually
don't.
enjoy.
Also,
What I said.
also
he
reason
and I.
yeah.
So
episode might. Wait.
Hello?
Another reason that this episode might have not had much substance to it was kind of out there is this is only the second episode by this particular writer, and that writer still might be being brought in to try to give him a chance to, get into the flow of things.
Well,
And since
for the record,
Spike
the
is
first
not
episode,
really well.
the first episode by Corey
since-
Powell was fantastic.
Yeah.
If you say so.
But
I think that one also had
you
difficulties
also
with
have
pacing.
this character Spike, who anybody getting into writing for the show goes back and looks at all those episodes. They don't get a really clear picture of what Spike's supposed to be. He's kind of flip-flopping
He's
all
quite-
over the place.
I think that would
Actually,
happen for
more
all of the
complex.
ponies.
Yeah, they're actually complex beings rather than one-note dimensional characters.
Yeah, but there's
And we
there's
can
an amount
see
to
that
which
Spike
it's,
is not an arsehole. So now he suddenly is.
there's an extent to which they're complex, and there's an extent to which they're just inconsistent. And every character has their moments of inconsistency across the course of this show, which is one of the biggest reasons that I don't usually try to fault the show on the, like, if a character, if somebody says, oh, he's acting out of character this episode, I go, but what is this character? Because it's changed a lot.
I can answer
you know?
that at least in the broadest of terms. In the sense that if we have a character, for example, Twilight Sparkle, we say she is the student of Celestia, and she is the librarian. She is often very focused on her work. We have a basic framework from which we always work from, and where she always operates. For Spike, he is always what? Number one assistant. He is the baby dragon.
That's not what I would think of when I think of Spike. I think of
I think of Spike as an assistant because he has always been an assistant.
yeah, he has always been an assistant.
So how can you not think of him as an
a younger
assistant?
brother.
I just think of him as, I don't know. I just kind of think of him as the one who is there to be the straight man to everyone else, or occasionally, if it's his episode, to not be the straight man to everyone else.
If you listen to my examples, these are what they are in the show. Not what role they play in episode to episode. It is what they are in the show. For example, Fluttershy is the caregiver. She looks after the animals. She is often very shy. We know that kind of basic framework. And for Spike, I would say the framework is he is the assistant. And he is often quite a good assistant, or at least in the past.
Sometimes. Yeah.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, for the most part, he is definitely a decent
Sometimes he
assistant.
overworks and he goes to sleep. Sometimes he really likes ice cream, and when there is no repercussions on it, then he acts. But I would argue that Spike is an assistant and generally quite a competent one. Now we have a guy who you couldn't trust anything with, who is a complete arsehole.
Yeah.
I would say this is a complete reversal of even the most basic character archetype or role in the show.
I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. It's just I can't, put in the arsehole who you couldn't trust anything with number one assistant. They don't mash for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my view, though, and you categorize what each of them is, I've never actually seen him as number one's assistant. I've seen him as either younger brother to Twilight or adopted son of Twilight. And that's the view I've always seen of Spike. Not so much an assistant as, I don't know.
Well,
who she
remember
take
the
care
way
of.
you have misunderstood the question. The question was, what is the framework that they place within the show? What is the basic thing that we can say about said character? Yes, that is Spike's relationship with Twilight, and we see Spike with Twilight the most time. So what you gain off from Spike is his relationship with Twilight. However,
You know what?
the reason they are together is because of him being the assistant.
ANY, I think you just typed that into the wrong
You
place.
just copy-pasted the chat because I believe I'm the only one with two screens, so I'm the only one.
Oh, I have
Okay.
two screens. I could be reading the chat.
Oh.
I just didn't think
Okay.
of it.
Just thought I integrate the chat a little bit in our chatting.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I only have one screen. I'm afraid I'll freeze up again if I bring up.
Don't do anything, you will freeze.
no,
Well,
keep the-
I guess what I'm about to say is that you've said it in your definition of Spike, and I don't disagree with it because it's it's there. But the fact that you see him that way, and that me and
no, the question, if you remember, is what is Spike's role?
what is his role in the show? And I think it's
I
ill-defined.
didn't. You framed my question as what I thought. However,
Yes,
my question
because
is,
it's not necessarily definitive if we don't see him that way. That just means that they've done a bad
No.
job of setting him up as that.
well,
If
what
we don't all agree that
understand
that's what
that
he is.
the question is framed as what the show actually uses him as. What's the most basic framework we can do?
Yeah, but what is
Can
that?
you is that
You have
frame,
an
is
idea
the
of what that
framework
is.
is the framework of him being an assistant correct or incorrect?
Of him being an assistant, yes. Of him being the
Okay.
number one assistant is in question.
Okay, let's discuss that in more detail.
Unfortunately, I haven't rewatched my Spike episodes recently to pull up a lot of specific examples as to why I would or wouldn't think of him that way. I can only say that my personal coming into this episode, what I took into this episode with me about Spike, was not that, and that's the most that I can say about why I don't feel this this idea that he is that's what he is.
It's what Twilight uses to describe him in the Our Wishes episode.
The number one assistant.
Yes, many times, and that actually plays into his internal conflict when there is a problem with Our Wishes, that he wants to actually possibly leave because he has lost his position as number one assistant. He is called number one assistant because he was portrayed as a good assistant in that episode. Generally, also during most of the episodes, he is portrayed as a fairly efficient assistant. He does the job for the most part.
Yeah.
And he is often more socially competent than Twilight herself.
The problem usually starts when he is focus of an episode. So, as a supportive character, he usually is more assistant type,
Yeah.
with a few snarky remarks here and there. And the problem is really most of the time in episodes where he has too much screen time. And
Yeah. Because it's inconsistent. That's the thing you have to deal with in My Little Pony is that the
What
characters
is
are going to.
inconsistent?
Well, like he just said, whenever he gets an episode to himself, it starts to mess with his character. Where one time all of a sudden he's a
Well,
bad assistant, and then all of a
I
sudden
don't
he's
understand that
a
yet.
dick.
This episode, yes, he has become a dick. However, in other episodes, let's see, there's Secret of My SS when he becomes very greedy, and it's a story about how he goes over the top.
But that's probably supposed to be his dragon DNA, yeah?
Yeah, it's.
But I
a
don't see why
reflection
that
of
wouldn't
him being
apply
a
to this
dragon.
episode too.
Well, in this
'Cause he
episode,
is
it isn't played in
becoming-
the same way, is it? because he does not become more of he does not grow up as a dragon.
And
Yeah.
the thing where I see the difference to this episode and also to Party for One, that's what somebody mentioned in the chat, where he also is only wants to get his jewels. In Secret of My Access and in Party for One, he was acting out of impulse. He saw something and he just wanted it. So it was in Party for One more like a childish greed, and in Secret of My Access the dragon greed. But this time he's
This is
really
often his
planning
choice.
it.
I don't know.
It's his
I
judgment
mean, in this
call.
episode, the moment when he starts to become driven by greed is when Fluttershy gives him the emerald. It's the same kind of set-off where in Secret of My Access, what set him off was somebody gave him something, and then he wanted more somethings. And in this episode, we don't see him being specifically greedy until Fluttershy gives him this, or offers him this giant emerald, and he goes, "Oh, I want that. I'll take care of your bunny. I don't care. Just whatever. I'll just do it." You know, and then he takes the emerald. But then he spends the rest of the episode wanting more.
That when he says whatever is out of character. Him wanting something, sure. But we have seen that while he is not in greedy mode, he is a sentient mind.
And I believe it wasn't the same greedy mode like in Secret of My Access. He was really like, he just had his own gems and he was too
He wanted
uncontrolled and ate them because out of,
He was able to control eating all the gems when he was mining with Rarity.
For example.
And he was generous enough by his own character to give away that one gem to try and rescue Rarity.
And he even was self-controlled enough to collect all the gems he now wanted to use for his cake. Because at the beginning he said, I believe when he's still singing, he's like, "Oh, I collected all these gems."
Exactly. He is an idiot from the very first second that he immediately eats all those gems he got from somewhere.
And he can't even control it, like with the very last scene where he still can't control himself.
And I still don't get why there's cookbooks for gem cakes. Like, how many dragons or baby dragons have made cookbooks?
Actually, I have no problem with this. This is suspension of disbelief. So yeah, there is a gem cookbook, and Twilight even asks about who this will be a delicious
it makes the cakes special gem cupcake a lot less special, which is a bit sad.
That's true. But well,
like it was like we just invented something, and here just for you, Spike, something special. Well, actually, no, they just produced like the smallest of the gem cakes. It's kind of a letdown.
Yeah, but theirs is probably the most delicious because they're artistes. They're the best at what they do.
Well, we don't know how much they take things from recipes or invent them themselves. That time they said it was something special, though, didn't they?
I'm going to bet that they're the
it's
best.
not as special anymore, is it? The
The
point, though, is they made something special, and it's not so special anymore.
Actually, this episode destroyed two special things.
That's the other one.
If we go back to
Other
the
than
whole
just
thing
Spike
about the value of gems, if gems really are that valuable and Rarity can get them so much, is she really that generous giving her friends free clothes? It's not like she really needs the revenue or anything.
And think about the size of the gem she gave Spike.
Yeah.
oh yeah. But okay.
I'll just look after Opal here. Have this tiny, tiny, tiny gem.
Though for what it's worth, that's probably about what babysitting the cat was actually worth. Considering that gem's enough to buy a fucking industrial size hair dryer.
Right, done just for the love.
That hair dryer was great.
I believe by now
Except it
everybody
was
knows
kind
what
of vacuous.
I believe by now everybody knows what I think about Rarity and Element of Generosity. So
yeah. Okay. Though, what do you guys think about the actual? I mean, you got the humor, but what about the pacing of the story, the stuff that goes on?
I thought it was great. I don't know how to get into the. Well,
wait,
what A and Y?
You said don't do it.
it was a trap, and you fall for it.
Yes.
Oh, I know, but I like everything about this episode. There's nothing I can be negative about where I can't say,
Well,
I guess the pacing was kind of wrong. I mean, I just loved everything in this episode, and no problems with it at all.
Yeah, even though to some it may completely degrade his character, makes the gems things.
I guess because I
economy.
don't care about Spike's character is probably why it doesn't really affect me at all, because I
And the
really
stuff
just
we've talked
don't
about,
care
gems.
about Spike.
That's the thing, though. In this episode, Spike is the protagonist, or at least he seems to be the central character we follow for the majority of its length. Why do you care about the events that go on if you don't care about the character on screen?
Just because it was funny, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch him get his comeuppance. It was fun to watch all the animals be great, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders were, to me, the highlight of the episode, the way that they acted, and the
Even though the
specifics
Cutie
of
Mark
how
Crusaders aren't the focus. The focus is on Spike, who you do
Well, you
not
don't
care
need
for.
to like the episode for the focus. There's a
Well,
lot of different reasons you can like an episode.
Yeah, however, for those who are interested in, who want to get involved in the story, one has to empathize with the characters, not just laugh like a child whenever funny stuff goes on.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think you can like an episode for whatever reason that you happen to like it.
Yes,
There
and I
shouldn't be a
just stated
specific-
one way that someone could like it.
Yeah,
How can you disagree that that is some way someone could like it?
it is a way that someone could like it.
Then why did you disagree?
But because you said that was the only way. They said that you
No, I
should
did not.
like it.
You
for
added that
reason.
meaning. I did not say it was the only way. I said that some people could be involved in the story by
I remember hearing the
empathizing with
word
the character.
"should."
No, I did not use the word only, however. If you are adding
I heard
meaning to what
should.
I said, you are not taking what I've said
podcast is
correctly.
recorded. We can check it later.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not mean
I know you didn't say
I did
only,
not
but
mean
I heard
only.
should.
I did not mean only. I said that one way that people could be engaged is by this way and not just by laughing. This shows there are two ways in my initial argument that people could enjoy the episode. I am sure there are more.
Correct,
That
then.
one could be involved in
definitely.
the characters and the people and the events going on. Others could be just purely entertained by funny stuff going on. How good is it in terms of plot, which I would relate to people who want to get involved in the story and the characters? Was it good plot-wise in terms of pacing? You said it did, but you didn't care about it because you found it funny.
Yeah.
How have you thought about it since you didn't care about it?
Wait, what?
Have you thought about the plot pacing if you actually don't care about it?
I really only think about the pacing of the show when it's bad, usually. When I notice that it's bad.
Then how can you claim it is good or bad if you haven't thought about it?
Well, because it wasn't noticeably bad.
Except you overlook plot and pacing if you find what is on screen funny, which you did. And
Well, as
you
far as I'm concerned,
haven't
plot
thought
and
about
pacing
it.
is natural.
So you answered a question you haven't thought about.
I
You
think
just automatically said it was good because you found it funny.
Yeah, but I think it's a fair argument to say that when one aspect was not noticeable bad, that it probably wasn't too bad.
Right. That's how I feel about pacing in general, in just about any work. If the pacing if you're not even like noticing the pacing, then it's not a problem, you know.
Except
Bad
you're
pacing
just
should
enjoying
stand out.
funny moment from funny moment to funny moment.
But
All
I
it-
didn't
all it
feel
has
that was
to
bad
do is be
pacing.
funny.
So if it's funny, yeah, if it's funny consistently throughout the whole episode, you won't ever feel like, oh, now I'm bored. You know, I didn't ever have that emotion. That's what pacing is how does it keep their attention?
If you're talking about pacing of funny moments, then that was enough for you to go through the episode.
Yes.
How about pacing of plot?
I haven't thought about it.
That is probably the honest answer. Okay. So when we'll have to look back in the past, but did I say pacing or just pacing of plot?
I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, I felt that the pacing of the plot was, for one trying to get involved in the characters and the events, it felt odd, particularly tone-wise. In the sense, I couldn't empathize with Spike because he was being an asshole.
Yeah.
But events revolve around Spike, so do I want Spike to be revealed as being an arsehole? Do I want him to, learn something that he is being an arsehole? Do I want him to cover up him being an arsehole?
I'm so putting an asshole counter in the bottom of
Yeah.
And the worst part is, I started it. I was the first one to say asshole.
Oh no, me and Digi had a bit on DeviantArt.
Yeah, I called him an asshole in his comment section on his review. So it was already
an asshole. Yeah.
It was already in the public consciousness at that point.
Yeah.
I haven't even had time to check his review and the comments.
Yeah.
His review is basically what he's just said. He's very, very much did not like the episode and found it to be bad of Spike's character and badly paced and everything else.
I had difficulty understanding what this episode was going for. If it was going for funniness, I wasn't laughing because Spike was an arsehole. And if it was going for a story, I wasn't laughing because Spike was an arsehole and was spending a lot of time with the arsehole.
I think it was more of a filler and a platform for the next episode.
That's it, isn't it? It's
Because-
That's also true. That it's obviously setting up for the next episode.
Yeah.
Because you have all the mentions of, the game guy coming to the Crystal Empire. They're going to greet him, and you don't see what they do in the Crystal Empire, which is supposedly what's going to be what the next
Isn't
episode
that thing
is all
over
about.
though? Because the
So this is-
main six came back.
Yeah, but the next episode
But
will
I
take
think
place
that
with what
the
they were
next
doing while they
episode
were there.
This actually takes place.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
be like
this is
taking
kind
place at
of
the
a
same time.
look at what's going home. Yeah, what's going on at home while this is going on.
Yeah.
Okay. I sort of viewed it in this episode's context as very similar to Spike at Your Service as the homework for Twilight. A way to get the main six out so Spike could mess up things by on his own.
Yeah, we'll see next week.
Yeah, but in this episode, it fills a similar role. Get Twilight, the one we've seen before, and when we've seen her and Spike before, they are both not arsehole-ish and not retarded. So it's going to be disingenuous if we see them both together. So let's just move out all that past difficulties and leave Spike on his own to be an arsehole.
That's an interesting point.
It can be.
Whoa.
Twilight's the kind of character who she's really smart and stuff. So if you've got an episode that can't have somebody spoiling it early on, she's given the stupid ball, which ticks off
Or
fans
the
a lot
go
when it
away ball.
happens.
Because that's what Biter's saying is that if she had been around, she would have nipped this in the bud, but she was gone. Because obviously she caught on as she was leaving, but not enough to put a stop to it.
It's a bit weird. Like everyone in that episode, like particularly for like the main six, they acted as if Spike was responsible. But from his actions in that episode, it's obvious he is not responsible. So the characters are acting as if his prior characterization is still around, when obviously now he's an arsehole for some reason.
Yeah, but he was also something he's never been before, which is extremely focused this episode. He was like looking tunnel vision at his trying to get this cake finished, almost the way that Twilight was tunnel vision in her studying of that other episode, where she couldn't be interrupted by anything. And it does semi-change a person when they are that focused on a thing.
Which episode was that? The one where Twilight was that focused?
The Spike at Your Service, actually.
That's the other one, Spike at
Oh
Your
yeah,
Service.
that's what you meant. Yeah, and was that the one you were talking about, or did you mean a different episode?
No, he meant that one.
No, that's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
I've had friends and other people who, when they focus on something to the exclusion of everything else, they lose most of their restrictions and other stuff of their politeness and stuff that they'd usually be around you. In fact, when they realize what they've done, they usually come begging you not to hate them for how they treated you while they were doing it.
Yeah, there's an element of relatability for me with that, because I'm kind of an asshole like Spike in real life, so I kind of overlook some of his actions because it's the kind of thing I would do, is swindle people out of their money out of something that I'm probably not going to actually do. So
yeah,
maybe that's why Spike being an asshole isn't that big a deal for me, because I'm also kind of a dick.
and you can find it funny.
Yeah, that's why I could find it funny, because I'm like,
It's
oh,
just
that's so
that
mean.
he isn't. He hasn't been. I mean, he has been focused before, though. When he became focused on gems in a previous story, he became more like an adolescent and then a full-blown dragon. Well, not gem. You know, he started off with a gem and then he started collecting everything. But in episodes when he is, I mean, we always see that he has like temptation when he's like with Rarity and trying to collect the gems. The thing is that even the particular point with Spike, when he is a full-blown dragon, is that he remembers his prior generosity and character, and that restricts his focusedness. That Spike has his inner, you know, he can understand other social beings and how to act for them. The only difficulty is that his nature is to be focused on collecting gems and objects, and that has been his redemption in past. In this episode, however, there's no redemption, and he has absolutely none of that depth.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with that. That this does not expand his character the way that Spike at Your Excess did. Where
before he was redeemed, and we often see that he has a certain understanding of other people than some others don't. For example, in Lesson 0, he's the only true friend to Twilight Sparkle. He is, sometimes quite competently, socially speaking. And in this episode, all of that was left on the cutting room floor to leave him to be an arsehole. And in that regard, it is a degradation of his character, not just a lack of expansion.
Yeah, I hate Angel too.
For our viewers who are going to be viewing this without the original stream comments, in the comments, Ardoen said, "Oh, Angel needs more time with Discord, in my opinion. Angel was a fluffy little bastard, and he needs to be punished for it again."
Yeah, they didn't pay that off in that episode, did they? They have all this interaction with Angel Bunny in Discord, and Angel doesn't get his own back.
And I'm still angry with Angel for putting a hoof down. I mean, he was the main person who treated Fluttershy like a doormat, and he is her pet, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Going back to this episode, all I knew going into it was the title, and I assumed it would be about the pets. But as our discussion has shown, the pets don't play that much into it. It's mostly about Spike. What do you guys think about the pets? They seemed mostly like set dressing.
As far as what's the word I'm looking for? Support characters go in this episode. I think they were fun. Not all of them get to do much. Like what's the cat's name? Opalescence didn't get to do anything.
Actually, no, I saw a few things with Opalescence that was really interesting. You've got her first interaction with Tank, hits him on the head. Right afterward, she does the cat, rub against him thing. So you've got a general weird interaction with the other pets with her.
Yeah.
Before you always saw anybody get near her, she'd just, freak out and try to claw them to death.
Yeah.
But in this one, you actually see her nice to other pets, except when they do something that pisses her off, like mess with her bed or something.
Yeah.
And she even interacts in a positive way with other animals. When Angel is doing his ego trip again, you see Spike like, "Angel!" and all the other animals group behind him and look like, "Oh yeah, Angel."
Yeah.
And then for a strange thing, I believe Owlicious is carrying... Who is he carrying? The two flying pets are carrying other...
Yeah. They were carrying Spike, actually. They
actually lift his body weight.
But this is one of the earlier scenes when they are still on the string. But later on, when Angel is on the train, and they all spot Angel on the train, and the other animals are like, "Oh god damn it, Angel is doing it again." And then they move into the train, and the two flying pets hold other pets. Like I believe Owlicious is holding Gummy, and Tank is actually carrying Opalescent. So This is real
That's
interaction.
That's some good old-fashioned MLP attention to detail right there.
Yeah.
It actually tank carries Opalescence twice. I think that time it's good. The second time is just hilarious when you see Opalescence just, spinning around as she hangs
very
on.
last scene when everybody is reading the cats and this too. That's really sad because there was this love for detail in this episode on a lot of little occasions, but it was there. I guess it had all been done by the animators mainly.
Yeah. The animators always definitely add a lot to the episode beyond the writing stage, and their attention to what they're just all the little flourishes they throw in.
Yeah.
I like Aloysius prowling around after Angel Buddy.
Yeah, I love all of Aloysius' facial expressions, that he's able to be so expressive without any words, where he gives this Spike this look like towards the beginning where he looks at him like, hey dumbass, you're the one who ate the jewels, and like holds the spoon up.
Act like an idiot.
Yeah, he gets guys like this truly perfect face where he's just like, dude,
Even
like,
so,
it's somewhat angry and mostly just annoyed. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a great ad that they gave him expressions because he hadn't had a lot of them in the past.
Yeah.
He hasn't been around much.
This as well, yeah.
The thing I have though is there are these little moments, but the focus of the story ain't on the sidekicks. The sidekicks, apart from those little bits and moments here and there, are generally can be described as nuisances or just hangers on.
It's always about the central plot with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which isn't bad.
Or it's what the episode is doing is its central focus, and this central focus is different from previous seasons, which is why I probably don't like it.
Yeah.
My problem with what I liked in previous seasons was it was about the character interactions. That the sleepover episode, all you do is you have 3 characters in the sleep house, and you just let them interact. And in this episode, there could have been an interesting time to expand the pet characters and have them interact, because they all have very, different physiologies and attitudes and behaviors. And it didn't do that. What did the episode do? It played a lot of events out for slapstick. Before, in seasons 1 and 2, it wasn't slapstick. It played mostly to the characters. Yes, sir.
Actually, one thing I've noticed, this season has had a lot of, recycled plots from other cartoons and other stuff. Mm-hmm. It seems semi-lazy, and it's also shorter than other seasons. What I've always wondered is, since they write several things at once, is it possible that the writers are right now focusing on season 4? This whole season could almost be a semi-filler as they put their real effort.
No. I don't know if I buy that, because on the one hand, also there's been plots from other seasons that were also used in other cartoons. I can't think of any right off the top of my head, but I remember seeing people who would point out stuff like the one with Hearts and Who's Day was an episode of Powerpuff Girls, for instance, like that happened almost exactly the same way. So there's always been that sort of element, which is just a cartoon thing. Every cartoon goes through a lot of these
stories
episodes.
are similar to previous ones, and it doesn't even matter if it's recycled. It matters whether you can make the story interesting.
Yeah.
There's so many retellings
of
classic tales like Romeo and Juliet, and all of them are quite a lot of them are quite good, even though they are the same story.
Yeah, and it's a classic statement. I'm trying to think of anybody who said it, but that every plot has been done before. It's just about whether or not you can do it well.
7 of them.
Yeah.
Genre versus literature. If anyone's seen that from Tasteful Understated Nerd Rage.
I have not. Where
people often take tropes from before in the past because we know they work. Yeah. And then reuses them in a more modern contemporary setting.
I know I brought up TV tropes in the last episode, but I think you guys said you don't really read it much. But I've read all of TV tropes, and it's always just it's a site where you just read about a trope and everything it's ever been in and how they used it, and you can get lost on that site forever.
Yeah, they describe patterns. They don't totally describe analysis. What I was going to say about the writers, which was what Mr. Puppyface came up with, was that I put a quote in the chat from a source from EQD, where they said that M.A. Larson has gone to Little Pet Shop and Amy Keating Rogers going for Care Bears, which I would view as two of the best writers of the show. The two of the best writers aren't around anymore, leaving us with Dave Polsky and Mary Ava Williams.
Wait, who were they?
Isn't
Amy
M.A.
Keating Rogers
Larson? Isn't M.A. Larson the one who writes the final one of the season?
Yeah, he also wrote Magic
Duel.
Duel.
He's done two. But he was more, those two writers were a lot of writers were actually a lot more around in previous seasons.
I didn't know that Amy Keating Rogers was gone. Didn't she write Applebug season? That's like the best episode. What the hell?
For you, yeah. Yeah, what I was saying, though, the way I feel about it is Hasbro is moving its better writers to its other shows. And it is leaving us with...
I don't agree at
the
all.
more back writers.
I
Dave
really...
Polsky and Mary Ava Williams.
I love Dave Polsky, though, so I completely disagree. I mean, despite how Keep Calm and Flutter On, we have established...
It's an obvious distinction, however, that you can obviously just enjoy pure slapstick. That if something is just throwing funny after funny after funny, you don't mind what the thing going on is behind it.
I should probably mention is that I'm also not nearly as big a fan of Season 1 of this show as I am of Seasons 2 and 3, which is something that I realized much later that was like a lot of people really, really loved Season 1, and I didn't become like a giant fan of the show until Season 2, but I still think 2 is better than 3, so I kind of don't want to I don't want to be like, oh, 3 is the best, though, because that's not how I feel.
I think for me, Season 3 is a very different, obvious tonal shift in the sense that it's going
definitely
much more
feels that
for
way.
slapstick. That it's a lot more smiling and pointing right at the camera. It's trying on purpose to be funny. Whereas before, the humor of the show was, it was a sprinkle on top of what was going on generally.
It complemented the show. It wasn't the focus of the show.
Yeah, the focus has gone to the funny stuff. And the funny stuff on its own isn't enough for me. It's, for me, bad children's TV programming. Funniness without any reason to be engaged in it, other than the fact that I've been engaged in previous seasons.
I can't agree with that. I just love it too much. I love every episode of this show, except for Ghostbusters.
Well, it's not... when you say agree, it's a question of either understanding or appreciating it, not that you have to change your mindset to equate it.
I mean, I understand where you're
point.
coming from, but I don't know that it's true because I haven't rewatched enough Season 2 where I can say, oh yeah, I agree that it's moved in a direction of slapstick, where if I then go back and rewatch Season 2, I might go, oh, well, actually, there was a lot of slapstick here too,
The episodes
you might be right, but I haven't seen I can't personally agree until I've confirmed it,
Yeah, it's just, I think a lot of the favoritist episodes of the show haven't, I don't know, I don't think of them as the slapstick ones. They're often the ones where we watch the characters do something.
Yeah.
We watch them go through an arc. That the show, the reason people liked MLP in the first place was because girls' TV programming didn't have to suck. That it had a sense of maturity to it. That's why it has so many mature viewers. That it had interesting characters and story arcs. It wasn't
teach
just
you without talking down to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wanted, it told mature stories, or at least more mature than just, hey children, look, a pie to the face. Oh look, children, cute thing. Oh look, oh, pie to the face.
Somebody make a GIF out of this.
Out of him doing that.
I don't
But
know.
actually, it's a new meme.
Yeah, but that's why I sort of feel so depressed with Season 3, is it represents the very antithesis of why we got into MLP in the first place. I'm not saying that the whole thing is bad. I think it's just these slapstick-centric episodes rub me the wrong way because I've seen the potential of the show in previous seasons where, I enjoyed the characters and the arcs in a more mature fashion. than just
I
pies to
can
the
definitely
face.
agree that there has not been an episode this season. I'm looking at a list of MLP episodes so that I can try to wrap my head around whether or not I agree with the slapstick claim, because I do think there's episodes in season 2 that are pretty much just about slapstick, but there's also a lot that are and there's a lot of them that are a character arc that just isn't done well at all. Like the last roundup is kind of just a terrible episode because it doesn't really accomplish it. Yeah, it doesn't accomplish anything though, like with her character. So, I'll take an episode that is what to me is great slapstick over a character arc that completely failed, because it just wasn't a good episode. But
well, you see, it's a question of what direction the writers should go for, right? And for me, I preferred it when they were going for those mature arcs, and they were trying to do character arcs. Yeah, you can try and not succeed, but at least you're trying not to suck.
Yeah.
But now they're not even bothering with that. They're just sucking.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. The biggest character arc episode this season was definitely Wonderbolt's Academy, and that was probably my favorite episode.
Oh no.
Bloody Wonderbolt's Academy.
I haven't read your review.
Second worst episode ever.
I have no idea what you have against that episode.
My favorite episode of the 3rd season.
Oh dear.
This can of worms again.
Oh.
That sounds like a lot. Probably a discussion for another stream.
Yeah. Bytes and my discussions about this episode were what actually started us video chatting and later on starting this stream. So
I see.
We have discussed this for many hours as well.
Does one of you like it, or you just both hate it and you just rail on it?
It is my favorite episode of season 3.
Oh, okay, so you like it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's my favorite episode of season 3 too.
Yeah, digital high five. Yay.
Digital slam.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes of the whole show, actually. I just loved everything about it.
No. There's Lesson 0, there is...
Yeah, Lesson 0 is top tier. I mean, I'm not saying it is the number 1, because my number 1 is still, without question, Applebuck season. That is by far my favorite episode of the show. It's funny, too, because...
Breakdown episodes. I just love the friggin' ponies losing their shit.
Because it's about the characters.
Yeah, that's why I agree with you that the big character arcs have not happened this season. There's not been a big breakdown except for maybe Scootaloo in Sleepless in Ponyville. And I know you hate that episode too, and I love that episode, but I don't care as much about Scootaloo as I do about like Applejack, who would be my favorite pony if she ever got any fucking screen time. But
Really?
She had her own episode.
You're going with fucking now! That's almost bad enough.
The episode I want more than anything is Rarity's breakdown. I want to see her suppressed anger come out.
Did Rarity not have a breakdown? She had one, right? When when she became a crazy cat lady.
Breakdown.
She had it
wasn't a true breakdown.
No.
Yeah, she didn't have one like she didn't have like a Pinkie Pie or Twilight Sparkle breakdown.
You look at her; she's always making these faces like she wants to kill somebody, then suppresses it, and then has the serene face again.
But that's her. She's trying her hardest to be proper and not over meltdown.
I never got that violent vibe from her.
It's not. I don't know that it's violent towards other people.
Violent or angry.
Yeah, because she'll be just
I
the
didn't
worst
get that.
possible thing. It's more like
that's her being melodramatic.
Yeah,
I don't see any anger in that.
Drama queen. So, but yeah, she never had a real breakdown. She was still doing drama, and I believe this. It's a fashion show episode. Is supposed to be her breakdown episode.
The one where she's making the dresses in season 1.
Become a crazy cat.
I'm wallowing in whatever ponies wallow in.
Yes, but she was still. It wasn't really a mental breakdown. She was just really depressed and was like, "Oh, everything is gone now." But she was still in control of herself. And in the other episodes,
she didn't have the crazy eyes.
Yeah, Sonic Rainbow Rainbow Dash was actually frightened beyond anything. Nice little parallel to Scootaloo, by the way. Twilight in Lesson Zero, nuts completely. The Applejack and Applebug season, totally out of her mind because of sleep devastation. Who am I
Rarity
missing?
has a lot
deprivation. The word you're looking for is
Gala.
deprivation.
Yeah, Fluttershy at the Gala, right? Because
You're gonna love me!
I believe all the other times Fluttershy was...
I would say, for me, Rarity has a lot more small bits where she has stuff going on with her. The thing with a breakdown episode, the great thing about the ones that have worked is they have actually portrayed the characters visibly well enough that Twilight is a very focused character on what she works on, and so you can imagine her getting too focused on her being tardy. In Party of One, Pinkie Pie is one who always likes to, please others and throw parties.
Can I just address this comment somebody left? He said Fluttershy comes across as someone who is on heavy meds for me. I'm not entirely sure where that came from, but I love that comment.
It's from
great relation the whole time.
Adam was also the one who compared Spike and his gems to drugs.
That's I don't know, maybe a little bit more apt than just Fluttershy coming across like she's on heavy meds. I'm not entirely sure what he means. So what kind of meds do you mean, Arduin?
The funny part is this: we are about 5 to 10 seconds behind, so it will take a moment until he's able to answer.
Probably, yeah. But the point was that the breakdown episodes is they are possible extensions of the characters that you haven't taken them out of character. With Rarity, though, she is quite complex and quite mature quite a lot of the time. So making her have a full breakdown episode, it would be really hard to do a setup.
It would have to be something that genuinely would set her off on that level.
And I mean, losing her chance on the fashion industry thing, we've already done. That's the thing that would happen.
Rarity, Season 3, where is it?
Oh, she's too complex for this simple slapstick. Just push her to the side. You see, Rarity is a complex character.
She got slapped so hard by the stick she's off the screen.
Yeah, she's a complex character. It's kind of hard to make fun from
her. She is complex, very complex.
Well, I mean, that's what at one point I looked back on my Season 3 retrospective, when we had the break, was that the show is spending a lot more time with its simpler characters, i.e. mostly, at the time of speaking, characters like Spike or Pinkie Pie, ones that people don't know that well about, and you can sort of twist their characters without people realizing. But characters like Rarity, it would be harder to write a slapstick episode about her. So she's not really been around that much.
She's just plain old hard to write episodes
about.
I mean,
we still have 3 more episodes left, so there's still plenty of time for them to make it. They've done every other character this season. It would be really a shame if they didn't do Rarity. Even if you don't like the episode and you call it slapstick and say that she's not deep enough, then...
Only 2 more.
2 more what?
Episodes.
Only 2 more, and one of them's about the Crystal Empire.
Oh, no.
Well, the next episode...
spoilers!
Without spoiling, the next episode does sound like it could center around Rarity. Because it does sound like her kind of thing.
I always go into these episodes completely blind, other than the title.
Exactly, same here. And the author. Oh.
I don't. I read everything about it before I go in.
Okay. And that sets your expectations, you see. Whereas I want to sort of view it as if, I don't have a clue what's going to go on.
I've never been much to I'm not
spoilers.
Much
Pinkie Pie hooks up with Dr. Who's.
They have to A, introduce Doctor Who's character, and then B, try and get them hitched.
Yeah, I actually sometimes I like spoiling myself for things because of the fact that I won't I just don't care to go into things blind as much. Like I don't know. The idea of it's fresh and I'm seeing it for the first time, it really doesn't matter to me. It never has.
It depends how they do the spoilers. The best people who make the movies are the ones who make those trailers where they show you so much to get you excited, but it actually doesn't tell you anything about the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And often the spoilers they give isn't it like plot synopsis or roughly
I
what
don't know.
is going to go on.
I have very often read what happens at the end of a movie before I ever see it, so I'm just completely don't care about spoilers
Okay, but
personally.
I do, and I believe
Yeah,
Biter
I won't spoil
Yes.
you. I've tried to avoid spoilers in my own videos because I know that people will get mad at me. Because I've thought about being like, in the next episode, we'll get to see this character for once, and then I don't want a bunch of people going, no, I didn't want to know.
Oh,
Sometimes what I do is like I guess something in my reviews from the name of the thing. So I'm saying, oh, keep calm, flutter on. It's probably got Fluttershy. This
But
is
see,
going
you
to be
set yourself
interesting to
up-
see them doing slapstick with Fluttershy.
You said earlier that you were expecting in this episode for it to be about the pets, and you had
From
set
the
yourself
title.
up for that expectation, whereas I already knew that it was going to be about Spike because I had, read the synopsis.
I don't know. All I knew was about Sidekicks, and
Because
then
I
we-
like to have
but-
this sense of like, okay, we're gonna have a Spike episode, we're gonna have this episode, and then I can like set myself up for how much I'm gonna like if I should get
Yeah.
excited or not, Like with the Discord episode, last episode it was like, oh, it's gonna be a Discord episode. I knew way
I
ahead
was
of time.
so angry.
Discord and Fluttershy, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna not get excited because that sounds like it could be incredibly go either way,
But actually, about this one, Golden Fox put a spoiler at the end of his previous review, so I also know that it was about Discord, and I was angry about it. I was pissed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really...
Golden Fox, dang you.
Have you, Golden Fox?
He's a weird one.
You got Alarm's answer. Did you?
What was that?
Put in this chat.
Never mind, I'm not sure where it came from myself. She comes across like someone antidepressive or something. IDK, the true emotions are suppressed by meds or something. Sorry.
That's what my guess was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought he meant too.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So this episode,
the
we haven't
final-
actually heard much other than it's funny as why you liked it.
Oh,
That's
well,
pretty much
that's
because
pretty
that's
much
all
it.
it was. I will not disagree that it's really nothing more than a filler.
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna have plenty to say when I
As
do
I
my video, but I might as well
told,
say some of it now.
As I
'cause
told A and Y,
Yes,
as I told A and Y when he first asked me my opinion on this, I said it was very funny, but didn't have much substance.
No substance, and I didn't find it funny.
For me, it's the best part is the animals and the Cutie Mark Crusaders make it fun for me. Just the specific ways in which they screw over Spike, where like they get on the train and instantly they're all like, "Oh yeah, we get to go to the Crystal Empire," and I'm like, "Oh Lord, now it's just all going wrong for him, and he can't get it under control." And they're all excited about it and stuff, and it was fun for me to get to see that they were being. They kind of came into this episode out of nowhere and then got thrown into this completely out there
It's
situation.
almost like seems
that
a
would
series
have
of
normally
random,
occurred.
unconnected events.
It's
Probably
like
because it is a series of random, unconnected
yeah,
events.
it is, and it's supposed to be because it's just random
It
stuff
doesn't
that's
matter.
happening to
Yeah.
Spike, where he ends up on this train with all these animals and the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and things are just getting way out of hand. Where it's like, oh, they're suddenly going all the way to the Crystal Empire, and that sort of escalation was got me excited. Where I was like, oh, cool, and then they actually go to the Crystal Empire. I was like, wow, that happened, and then they all end up on the train in the end, and it's like. Are they going to get found out? There's a little bit of tension there. Angel Bunny, comes to the rescue with the gem and stuff, and I had so much fun with this episode.
I think, though, for me, because the episode is just a series of random events, that the story's pacing is kind of bleh, that the character itself is kind of bleh. The final revelation didn't have any impact despite what it was trying to achieve, in the sense of, don't be an arsehole, and you don't have any gems again. It kind of falls flat for me. The whole that's what I said in my review. That it basically whole episode plot-wise felt like a runaway train, and with no driver, because the driver said he would go out. He said he would jog alongside the train.
Yeah, I'm actually opening my own video about this episode by just talking about how. Basically, I start off by responding to yours, just in saying, yeah, I knew this was going to be like this, because when I watched the episode, the first thing I thought was, oh, everyone's going to have a different opinion about this. Everyone's going to disagree. I'm going to go on Reddit, and I'm going to see like a thread where half the people are saying, this is my favorite episode of Season 3, and half of them are saying, this episode is absolutely terrible. And then that's why I read your reviews, because I wanted to see what kind of... I was like, huh. Spider's pretty opinionated. Let's see what he said about it. He generally hates season 3. I want to know what he felt, and you completely hated it. And I was like, yeah, I saw that coming. So then I started off by citing that. I'm like, I totally get it. I totally get that it was going to be a hugely contentious episode.
I'm not sure it's hate. It's sort of apathy.
Yes.
Hate, outright apathy.
Which episodes do you straight
disappointment. Well, there's the one I straight out hate, but in terms of its content and what it does and what it is Wonderbelt Academy. I so dislike that. I don't know. I don't actively hate it. It's just that would be the one, if I ever bothered feeling hate, would be the one I hate.
What about from other seasons? Is it just
Super Sidey
season 3
Squeezy 6000?
Oh, what is that episode?
Mainly because of the whole economy stuff in that.
Yeah, the economy stuff is pretty broken. But
dumb economy is dumb. I hate it.
No hate for both.
Actually, I heard them talking about that and how when they're doing the contest, it's like, look how many barrels you would have made a bunch of more money doing the 75% deal. But then again, they didn't know how much they could make, how fast, when the whole deal was...
I have a simpler way of doing it. Like,
Anthony V did the math, and it turns out that in his video, and it turned out that they actually would make a profit if they just would go with it. So
yes, exactly. But they didn't know that when the deal was presented.
Because they are just some stupid farm people.
You don't even need to do math. Like for me, I thought, okay, you sell your own cider at its own price, and then you make more cider with the machine because you have a huge excess of demand. You know, you're making X amount, and then you make more barrels, and you sell, you know, more, which means you get Y, you know, Y times 0.25. Y times 0.25 plus X is bigger. That's it. You've got excess demand.
Yeah.
Them ponies love that cider.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
And it's probably even without alcohol because it's a kids show. What's the?
I think it has alcohol because I think somebody, the fact that it foams, non-alcoholic cider is not supposed to foam
But
like that.
on the other hand, they make it fresh. They create it and then they sell it right away. So where the apples already
alcoholic apples, I wouldn't put it past them. They have Zap apples. They can have anything. It's magical ponies. I just really want to believe that they're all getting drunk.
I think they just
because I love apple cider. I started drinking it like soon after seeing that, and then every time I drink it, I'm like, yeah, I ain't learned nothing.
Well, the actual thing is that they probably the probable thing is that they didn't consider whether it was alcoholic or not, and just treated it as if it wasn't. And the reason they put foam is because you've got opaque tankards. So how do you show it's full? Exactly. Well, you show it's full by foam.
Yeah.
So that's why they
it's
did
obvious that that's why they did it. But
by the way, it is My Little Pony. It is Equestria, so the foam is simply magic.
Yeah.
It could be there's some kind of fairy liquid at the bottom.
It gives extra juice to unicorn.
Okay, nevertheless, we are kind of screwing around for 10 to 15 minutes now.
Final thoughts?
Exactly. Somebody want to give some final thoughts?
I don't know. I
mean, liked the episode just for the humor.
I'll end if I want because I'm the most vocal on this episode.
Yeah. And you're the one who's not going to have a video to come out afterward. You've already done your writing on it, so we all have our own conclusions to reach later down the line.
My review structure is always on the day a review, my initial thoughts, and then I do a second review afterwards during the week, a follow-up on a particular aspect of the episode. The only problem is that we had so many slapstick episodes. I've sort of gone, yeah, it's slapstick again. It sucks. What am I supposed to say? Anyway, this episode in particular, I'm kind of glad in a way that it sort of reveals the guy who wrote this. What's his name?
Corey Powell.
Corey Powell. Yeah, I was right. People sort of thought his Sleepless in Ponyville was deep. I think it's a girl.
Because you kept saying she in your review. And
I think confused. It's a girl. I think I looked at her Twitter and it has a picture of a girl on it, so I guessed it was a girl. But last time, people quite liked Sleepless in Ponyville just because of the premise, but it has, in terms of a story and in empathy, didn't work as an episode. I actually found it pretentious rather than deep. And I'm slightly glad that Just for Sidekicks has been the simple slapstick it has been again. And yeah, I think my final line of...
You just don't want to like Corey Powell, is what you're saying.
I want to like her if she plays to the show's strengths. What she isn't...
For me, it was like... For me, I went into this episode going, oh, it's written by Corey Powell. I hope it's going to be good because then I can confirm that she's one of the good writers, you know. And then when I saw it and I liked it, I went, oh yeah, she's pretty good. She's one of the good writers. She's not Meriwether Williams.
Except instead for me, it confirmed she's a bad writer in terms of the show's strengths and weaknesses.
Their episodes are definitely odd. They definitely don't feel like any other writer's episodes.
This was supposed to be
an
a statement. And we're starting a new discussion.
But yeah,
if you want to end it, we can. I mean, I don't know why you have to limit the time.
Basically, the plot is a runaway train that's left the station because the driver thought he would just go for a short jog alongside it.
Okay, this was the final statement of the negative side. Now the team positive may say something as well.
So, I just saw it as a fun episode. One of the reasons I like this series, they can pretty much make their episodes go to all sorts of places, including just entertainment. This is on par with Looney Tune episodes and stuff for me. Not necessarily My Little Pony episodes, but Looney Tunes and that kind of thing, which is an enjoyable cartoon that I love to watch.
Oddly enough, and part of the reason that when he keeps saying stuff about like slapstick and being just on par with other cartoons is that I don't really like any other cartoons, American cartoons other than My Little Pony and like a couple others, but there's none that I care about nearly as much. So for me, when you guys say, oh, it's like on par with other cartoons, I go, no, other cartoons aren't this good. I like this. I don't like those. You know.
I think one thing I said in my breather was the cast that we've been given. You know, the main six and what else, they aren't the Looney Tunes cast.
Yeah.
This isn't their strength of slapstick. Their strength is generally more character episodes, or breakdown episodes, if you will.
Which is why I said it's on par with Looney Tunes and not on par with My Little Pony episodes.
Yeah. Well,
because I do consider those a level above.
At least Looney Tunes is written from the ground up to be slapstick. That its characters.
So you're trying to say that you think Looney Tunes is better than this, is what you're saying, Peter?
Yeah, I would say it works better as slapstick, or at least it's not as much of a degradation of its characters.
Okay. Well, anyways, let's wrap things up, because everybody can check out Writer's Written Review on DeviantArt. I'll put the link in the description, as well as Digibrony's review. I don't know when it will be out, probably before I upload the edited version of this
it could
podcast. Be. So you can check out his channel as well. I'll put the description there. I put the link in the description as well. My review should hopefully be up around the end of the week, because then I'm done with my exams. And I don't know, Skan, if you are going into episode reviewing at all, or...
I'll be starting a series where I talk about specific things in episode, but not this one. Like I said, there's no substance, so nothing for me really to make anything about it.
If anybody goes to your channel, what MLP-related stuff will they find there right now?
Right now, I've just got a couple commentaries I've done, but I'm looking into starting a series I'm going to call Into Deep, where I just share ideas and hypotheses I get from stuff I've heard on the show that has really no way to prove whether I'm right or just, looking.
You should start with Amnesia Field.
What?
Amnesia Field?
The one thing we know about the Crystal Ponies is that they are forgetful, and now they are part of the Crystal Empire. So therefore, it's projecting a field of amnesia. Anytime the characters are out of character, it's due to amnesia.
Okay.
Actually, my first one will probably be on the season episode 3 conspiracy, because season 1, season 3, season 2, season 3, and season 3. Okay, all 3 episode 3s they've done all have a link
Oh
that
yeah.
is kind of bizarre, and if they do
The
that in season
is that the
4,
one with the
I'll see
barn
it as
with Applejack's
yeah,
barn?
in the first
right?
one they talk
Yeah.
about they talk about how I want a new barn. Next season, Rainbow Dash destroys the barn. Third
Yeah.
season, they raise the barn.
Yeah.
Ooh, a pattern has emerged. We never
So,
see barns in the show normally.
So I'd be
So-
curious if in season 4 there's some mention of
Yeah,
Applejack's.
it would be very
barn or
interesting if
So, if you're interested in the in the episode 3 conspiracy theory and other commentaries and in-depth videos about MLP, check out Skan120. I'll put the link in the description as well. And I guess we are all done for today. So, see you soon.